Goodness conversations about what the holy heck is going on with this basketball team in this city. Well, no. I have some thoughts. I have some questions. And, we're going to take a look back in time and ask the question, was it so bad? Was it so bad? That's going to be coming up in the second hour of the program. As we mentioned, Dave DeFore is going to join us. He was supposed to be on Friday. He's going to be joining us today. We got the makeup game, right? The rain delay happened, the makeup game. Now, because Dave's not listening to the show, and I don't blame him. I've asked this question before. When you clearly space something, is it better to is it more polite to make up an excuse? Or is it better to just rip the Band-Aid off and come clean? Because this is what happens, all right? And I understand we are the weirdos. And you all who are listening at 6:04 in the morning, you're with us. You're the weirdos. We're the vampires. We're up far before anybody else in the regular world wakes up. And by the way, salute to all of you. So you probably, if you are listening to me right now, live, not some of you who are listening at, let's say 11 a.m. on the replay, which we appreciate you too. But we understand that we are the weirdos and that sometimes, especially for sports writers who live these very, very late nights, getting up and doing an 8 o'clock interview is really not in lockstep with maybe your daily activities. I understand that we are the weird. So sometimes it's going to happen where someone who is supposed to be on the program is still asleep and maybe had their phone on silent. Do you sleep with your phone on silent or on vibrate? Mine's on vibrate.
Yeah, it's on silent, but my alarms, my
alarms are set, sure,
yeah,
but
so
if somebody were to try to call me in the middle of the night, if I don't hear the buzz of I might miss a couple of calls.
No, I wouldn't see it till I got up at 4:30.
Yeah. So I think most people live that way. So, if you oversleep a little bit and you're like, I'll be up by then. I know I got that interview in Portland. I'll be up by then, and you sleep through it, which is probably what happened. But he said, and again, not the only one. My phone died. It's like 2024 is my phone died an acceptable excuse anymore. Let's talk this one out. I cannot, honest to goodness, remember the last time my phone died. We have chargers everywhere in this world. Ubers, in your car, next to your bed. Every time you get a new phone, you get a new charger, right? Except for the new phones they switched up the chargers on us, didn't they? Don't the 15s have like a different charger now? And we all got to
It's not the Lightning anymore?
I don't know.
I have a 13 too, same as you.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sticking with the 13 for a while.
I think the newest ones still have Lightning. Okay. I know they all have the wireless charging, but I'm pretty sure if anyone knows for sure, they can hit us up on social media or on YouTube. What up, y'all?
But there are ways to charge your phone in every way, shape, or form. Also, just like your car and having in your life, you learn, I got to pay attention. I got to get gas. I don't have any gas. Because these things have been attached to our hands for the last 15 years now, and everything is done through the phones. We all know, I got to charge the phone. If that thing gets into the red, I freak out. I'm not a fan. Sometimes I see people with the screen grabs, and it's they're at 11%. I'm like, what are you doing? Will you plug that phone in for crying? So, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe because I was a Cub Scout. #be prepared. But I can't remember the last time my phone died. But I've talked about.
I remember mine. So it was last time my phone died was. I think I've told you the story before when I was at the LA Bowl 2021. It was after one of the night before the game, pep rally kind of a thing.
Yep.
I don't know why my phone wasn't charged, but Justin, I needed an Uber to get from SoFi, which you know is in the Inglewood neighborhood.
Yeah. It's
LA.
always up to no good, Inglewood is.
Well, and, walking from Inglewood to LAX would not be advised. So
it's a bit of a trek.
Yeah, it's like 2 miles, but, go through some areas. But no, and my phone just, legitimately died. It's ultimately what led me to get the 13, because I'm like, oh, boy, the battery's going down. And thank goodness I had some friends there to call an Uber for me. But, yeah, that is the one time I can remember ever that happening. And I remember being like, I'm never going to let this happen again.
So, all that being said, Dave DeFore is going to be joining us in the third hour. It was a very interesting weekend. Can I throw a little grumpy old man complaint with the NBA? We saw last weekend with the NBA All-Star Game one of the most pathetic performances of really any kind of major entertainment. The NBA All-Star Game was it an embarrassment? If it wasn't, it was very close. It was clearly lackadaisical. It was clearly a walkthrough. It was clearly we are more important than all of you. And what do they always say? Brenden, what is it that they always say about the All-Star Game? Well, none of us want to get hurt, right? None of us want to. And when we look at the NBA from a financial perspective, I understand if you're making $48 million a year, or what's Steph make? Because he's the highest paid player in the league right now, if I'm not mistaken. It's either Steph or LeBron, but I think it's Steph. Standing by.
$52 million.
If you're making $52 million a year, and that money, even though all that money is guaranteed, and when was the last time we saw an all-star have a catastrophic career-ending injury that led them to never get another contract ever? I'll wait. But the whole idea is we don't want to get hurt. All right, fine. I understand that. That actually kind of makes sense. Then in the week later, you all just get in fights in the middle of games. How many fights did we see in the NBA? We saw the Hornets and the Warriors got into it because of somebody shooting a basket after the game. We saw who did the Heat get into to a fight? And they were choking the Pelicans. Heat and the Pelicans got into a fight. So wait. So you all can't play in an all-star game that is televised on national TV. You can't play hard in an all-star game because there's too much money at stake and you don't want to get hurt. But 3 post-game fights we saw in just the week after. Clearly you got the energy. That's not a risk of injury. Hornets and Warriors. Boom. With Draymond instigating and everything else, post-game. Steve Kerr and whoever the Hornets coach is, and the post-game handshake, they're hey, good to see you again. What? So they get into a fight. Jimmy Butler's choking dudes.
Notice how CJ McCollum was nowhere really near that mix.
Dude, it's the smartest thing ever. I had a friend of mine who used to play football at Oregon, and we talked about certain things. And he was on the field. Tip of the cap for defensive end Reggie Jordan, who did radio with me down in Eugene. And he was on the field when Kenny Wheaton intercepted Damon Heward. Kenny Wheaton's going to score a play. And I was like, where were you? And he was like, you notice I was nowhere to be found? Because he's like, I do not do dog piles. Yeah. It seems fun. Hey, dog pile. And then you're at the bottom of it and you're like, get off of me, the humanity. And same thing with fights. You hear about in the NFL, training camp fights. There is if you don't go running into the fight, they have it on film and you'll kind of get chastised. But also you don't want to be in the mix there. But yeah, CJ McCollum, smart. Smart guy. I'm not getting in the middle. Those guys are choking each other. But do you know what I mean? We can't play hard in the All-Star game because we might get hurt. There might be financial repercussions. We all want to stay safe. Okay, less than a week after the All-Star game, you all are choking each other in the middle of the court. Like, that's not going to lead to injury? You all are sitting there fighting each other. Tough look. Tough look for the NBA. So we'll talk to Dave DeFore. Speaking of people getting hurt, a lot of pearl clutching. Lot of pearl clutching with storming the court. Should it be banned? Can they ban storming the court? There is one way to ban storming the court. One. I will tell you what it is, and then we will maybe have a discussion as to whether or not do you really want this? Kind of the same thing with the Blazers, right? Oh, need to tank, do you really want this? 3 years in, losing to the Hornets, scoring 80 points in a basketball game. Do you really want this? I have the ultimate solution for I can fix storming the court. The question is, do you really want this? Yes, Brenden.
You know, Justin, as Andy Bernard would say, I wish they would have told you you were in the good old days when you were in the good old days.
You're in the good old days. But I can fix court storming. I can fix it. It is one very simple, easy fix, and it's done. But do you want this? So we're going to talk about that coming up. But before we do that, speaking of storming, how's your roof? What a transition. Because I'm here to tell you about DeBella, Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, bath experts, and they're the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timber. Hey, 2024, how about we all try to save some money? And you can do so by updating your roof. Solar shingles. You could potentially pay for your new roof with solar shingles with a combination of savings and federal or state incentives. DeBella has all the details. Just get a hold of them. And plus, their estimates are always convenient, free, and they're scheduled when you have got time. Not when they got time. They've always got time for you, but it's when you have got time. You may have seen their excellent work in Better Homes and Garden. Real Simple, HGTV. 15,000 five-star reviews on Google. Plus, they've received accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor, award-winning customer service from DeBella. So get a hold of them right now for that. And how about a little financing opportunity of zero down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. So if you've been looking around your house going like, man, roofing, windows, siding, maybe a bath renovation, now is the perfect time to call DeBella to take advantage of the zero down and no payments until 2025. 15,000 five-star reviews and counting. Maybe you can be the next one on Google for their excellent work. Get a hold of them for a free, no obligation appointment for roofing, windows, siding, and bath renovations. DeBella, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, there was drama in Wake Forest over the weekend. So the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, who are 19-9 on the season after a win against then, I believe, number 8 Duke, clearly put themselves in a position to get off of the bubble and put themselves into the NCAA tournament. We see it all the time in the month of February, right? There is a lot of bubble watch. Speaking of the bubble, I think Oregon might have popped theirs with the loss to Cal. But regardless, neither here nor there. I don't have time to talk about that. But you see some of these teams and you get these big upsets and kids are fired up and they storm the court. It is as part of college basketball as anything. Big time, win at home, especially on the weekend against a top 10 team, against a team like Duke. And the kids, they storm the court. Well, this one brought some drama because Kyle Filipowski, who is a very good player for Duke, appeared to in the melee is I think it's in Winston-Salem, right? Isn't that where Wake Forest is? I think Wake Forest is in Winston-Salem.
Yes, the Demon Deacons.
In the melee at Winston-Salem, boom, court storm. And by the way, I've seen some court storming. This one was a doozy. Like, not going to deny it. This one was a doozy. Sometimes there's it's like a trickle, right? Sometimes it's just like the initial wave and then like, oh, we're really doing it. And then sometimes it seems like the entire arena has gone from their seats to the floor. This one was a doozy. And in the melee, in the court storming, Kyle Filipowski appears to make contact and then is in the middle of it. And then I don't know if they've diagnosed the injury, but he had to be helped off the floor.
Ankle
sprain. So he's getting helped off the floor. John Shire's freaking out, as I would understand, because who knows, right? At that point in time when one of your best players is like, all right, we just lost. They stormed the court. Filipowski's getting helped off by his teammates, still getting mobbed around with students and everything. And you're like, boy, is he tearing ACL? You're like, what? Like, I could understand in the moment, if you're John Shire, the head coach of Duke, if you are so mad. So if you were Duke, I would be furious. Furious. But the pearl clutching that was going on with, how can they still allow the storming of the court? How is this not banned? All right. We do this a lot in sports, and it drives me nuts. It's one of the reasons why I came up with the no criticism without a solution guideline on this program. Started off as a rule. We broke it a couple of times. Now it's a guideline. It's a North Star. Ban the court storming. Why won't they ban? Okay. All right, genius. How? I don't know if you've been to a college basketball game lately, but they ain't exactly the Pinkertons guarding the court. Yeah, deep History Channel reference there.
What a poll! I am back in Professor Johnson's history class at Oregon State University. Let me tell you, kids.
I was thinking about going Texas Rangers, but I was like, I'll go Pinkertons.
Yeah, let me tell you, folks. Do not take a history class at 8 a.m. One day a week for 3.5 hours.
I took art appreciation at 8 a.m. That was a mistake, too.
Yeah, you're very tired in the morning if you don't get up for morning radio.
But anyways.
Anyway.
This ain't the Secret Service guarding the court. You know what I mean? These are guys and gals in windbreakers getting paid a day rate. Right? Now, some places, like Moda Center has full-on actual, like, ushers. They work there. They're employees. Most colleges and universities, because you play, how many home games you play a year? 20? Right? It's 20. You can't full-time employ someone for 20. Most of these people who are there as security, they're getting paid a day rate. And most of you all, if you've been to a game, know who we're talking about. They're there. They're in the windbreakers. The ones at Oregon wear the blue windbreakers. Are they the yellow ones at Oregon State? What do they? What do the windbreaker people wear at Gill?
Oh, red.
They wear the red ones, but they're the windbreaker people. And by the way, those windbreakers, they give them up at the end of the day. They don't get to keep those. These are not even part-time employees. These are people who are there making a paycheck for the day, which, by the way, this is not a knock on them. It is a reality of what we're dealing with. So let's just start there. No university, like, oh, ban it. Okay. Let's take a look at who's in charge of court storming or who's there to stop it. Windbreaker security, who's getting paid a day rate. Who, by the way, you going to risk your health? You're going to tear up your knee as maybe someone in their mid to late 30s, maybe not in the best shape, and you're going to stop 500 kids all pumped up? You're going to stop them? Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to maybe exit stage left. Here's my windbreaker. Can I get my money, please? I have to go work my 4 other jobs. So there's the problem right there. I don't know. There's a lot of money that gets thrown around in athletic budgets. Arena security, not the biggest. Probably not the biggest budget. So there's that. Then there is this situation. If you even had, let's say you doubled the security, heck, you tripled the security. If you want to stop, I don't know, what's the average student section? 2,000 kids? Somewhere around there, I would say. Let's put it at 2,000. If you want to stop 2,000 18 to 22-year-olds from running onto the court, how many people are you going to need?
It's not possible.
It's not possible. So let's talk.
Where there is a will, there's a way, Justin. But
let's talk this out real quick. This is my point. I can fix it. Brenden, I can stop court storming tomorrow. I can stop it. I guarantee you. You're giving me that look like, I don't know how you would do it, Justin. I can. Here's how you do it. Student sections are in the 200 level or up. Do you want it? It's not a home court advantage. Everybody that sits at the 100 level, why don't they have court storming in the NBA? Because those seats are $8,000 on the court. The seats behind them, those seats are a pretty penny, right? And also, it's the NBA. There's no real big upsets and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, like, why is there not a court storming in the NBA? You get to the playoffs, you know how much a courtside seat's going to cost? You know how much a 100 level in the first 5 rows? You know how much those tickets cost? Those people ain't running on the court. So you want to stop court storming in college basketball, it is a very simple solution. There is only one way and one way to do it. You take every student section, you take them off the court, and you put them in the 200 level or above. You put 50 rows of donors and alumni and the wine and cheese crowd between the students and the court. Guess what? Nobody's going to storm the court. It's not going to happen. But guess what? Do you want it? John Shire, do you want it? Can we ban courts? Now, I know that at Duke, they don't really storm the court all that much. So John Shire's got a little bit of a leg to stand on. But, like, do you want the Cameron Crazies off the court? Do you want, like, all these coaches and all these media members who, by the way, are alumni of someplace? When are they going to ban this? There's only one way to do it. Move the kids back. Simple as that. That's the only thing. Well, what if we find them? They tried that in the SEC. The SEC storming the field, I believe, is a $100,000 fine to the conference. Which, by the way, the conference was really smart to do that in football because they're just like, that's a guaranteed payday because somebody's going to storm the field. And what is a field storming? And we can find them. Keep finding. I think it was in basketball. I think it's something like, because Kentucky, for a long, long time, especially under Calipari, Kentucky was just like, look, every time we lose, and it's not like we're ever going to go undefeated. There's been one perfect season in college basketball. Every time we lose, which is usually on the road, they storm the court, and we got to deal with it. Duke's got to deal with it as well. Now, I don't want to victim blame here. And I'm not one of these people who are like, well, look, Filipowski seemed to initiate contact. Nah, that's not his fault. He's on the court. You're on. The students should not be on the court. I do question why John Shire's got his team playing basketball with 1.9 seconds down 4, knowing that the court storming's coming. Right? John Shire played at Duke. He knows what happens when you lose on the road in the ACC. The kids come storming onto the court. Oh, I'm watching video, and like the poor security guys just like, I don't know what you want me to do. They're all getting like Duke's yelling at the security is like, I don't know what you want me to do. Should court storming be permanently banned? All right. This is where I get so frustrated with casuals. People who don't understand, people who are not part of the fandom. Because in ESPN right now, they have got a former coach and they got a former player. You know what they don't have? They have an administrator. They don't have anybody that understands, an arena manager. They don't have anybody that understands how arenas and crowds are put together. Permanently ban court storming. All right, great. How? You gonna arrest 2,000 kids? Good luck. Do you maybe arrest one and make it like a make an example out of it? It's like, all right, there's 2,000 kids on the court, or excuse me, 1,999 of them are going to be going off to their dorm, and then partying the Saturday away because they just beat Duke. One of them is going to go to jail, and you're going to try to make an example of, like, how do you do it? Well, there's one way, and there's one way only, and none of these coaches, who, by the way, take the benefit of having a home court advantage, none of these coaches are going to be willing to do what has to be done, which is you open up the courtside spots that are occupied by students, and you give it to the wine and cheese crowd, and you charge $200 a ticket for it, and maybe a lot of those seats will be actually empty, but nobody's storming the court. Is that what you want? Because those are your only... I do not see another option. They've tried fining teams. You can't beef up security. 2,000 kids decide they want to run on the court. They're running on the court. Deal with reality on reality's terms. I hate blaming Duke for this, but you're down 4 with 1.9 seconds. And yeah, sure, there have been 4-point plays in basketball history. I understand. Larry Johnson against the Pacers, I think, shoots a 3 as he's fouled, ball goes in. I get it. There have been Reggie Miller and the whole... But why is your team not right there near the exit? No, you knew what was coming. Should you have to deal with it? Should you have to deal with somebody running into one of your best players? No. But reality on reality's terms, those kids are coming on the court. So to all the people in the Twitterverse and to all the people who are on TV, ban it. Can we ban? Okay. Step 1. How do we do it? I'm all ears. That was me snidely taking a drink of my coffee. How do we do it? How are we banning it? 2,000 kids decide they're running on the court. Good luck. Good luck, stop it. You want to there's one other way to do it. Construct a barrier, right? They do it at Autzen Stadium. The way that the student section is, they're in the northwest corner of Autzen Stadium where the student section is. There's the wall, and then there's like a walkway, and then there's a second wall. So essentially to storm the field at Autzen, you got to jump over 2 walls. Did they still have just the one wall there when they redid Reeser? Because I know it's like behind, the students used to be on the...
It is not hard to get on the court at Gill or the field at Reeser. Either or. Very easy. And that's why I said
But like football stadiums, like you've seen them, they've built like, you've seen at Autzen where they have the 2 and you got to jump over the 2, or like you got to go through the hedges at Georgia or whatever. But like in basketball, those courtside seats are pretty expensive. Those courtside seats are nice to sell. There's no way they're going to put up a moat essentially around the court. You can't stop it. Stop it until you want move them to the nosebleeds. Is the only way you're going to stop it. And you're never going to do that.
Yeah, this is what Justin I like to say. It comes with the territory. I don't mean to sound insensitive to Kyle Filipowski, but like it just comes with it. It's part of college culture. Mm-hmm. I do not want to see this changed or messed with at all. And yeah, like, not to sound too feet in the ground, Justin, but like from as young as I can remember ever going to games, it was like I've been a part of a couple in my life, both as a student, a young fan, and they're kind of like storming the court, storming the field. They're both unique, but they're magical type moments that, like, if they weren't there, I'd feel bad that other people were losing out. So my stance on this is it sucks. Feel bad for Filipowski because there's a chance he could be a Portland Trailblazer next year. Really good player. Top 15 pick, Justin. I don't know if you know. I don't mean to sound insensitive, but I think it just comes with the territory.
Well, like, if you really want to dissect this, like I said, first off, why is he on the floor down 4? 1.9. Like, let's call a timeout because there's unlimited timeouts and you can do a 4-point play. Like, it's not rock and jock. That's timely reference lost on the youth. So there's that, and I know. Should he have to? No, shouldn't have to. Welcome to reality. There's a lot of things in this world we shouldn't have to, but you do. And the other thing is, you want to sit here and call for... I see all these casuals, all of them, and a lot of them are actual sports writers who should know better. It's probably why we don't get a lot of sports writers on this show. We get the good ones, though. We get the smart ones. But it's like, they go on Twitter, it's like, ban this. Why don't you? It's like, okay. How? You are put in charge of college basketball for one day. You want to ban court storming? Give me your first thing you do. Fine them? Great. You think any of those kids care? You think any of them care? That they probably, Wake Forest probably got, a $75,000 or $100,000 fine? You think they care?
Oh, the ACC might. They're low on funds these days.
Yeah, they could use some money. But, none of the kids care?
No.
You think any of those kids care?
Gosh, no. I remember, Justin, when...
So it's like the only way to ban it, the only way to fix it, put them in the nosebleeds. You put them up there in the nosebleeds, you're never going to have a court storming ever again. But you won't have an environment that makes college basketball absolutely special. Hate to be the guy that has to come and tell everybody the truth, but should court storming be permanently banned? Yeah, great, ban it. You know what this is like? Second office reference of the day. Brenden, this is like when Michael Scott declared bankruptcy.
I declare bankruptcy.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's like college basketball coaches think that you just come out there and go, court storming is banned, everybody. Okay. You can't just say that. You can't just declare bankruptcy. You can't just declare that court storming is banned. And every student in the first 3 rows is going to be like, oh, we weren't supposed to do that? It's banned? Well, guys,
so now
we better mind our P's and Q's the rest of the season.
So now we're going to have the presidents of the universities, Justin, who, as we know, are not always sports people, be like, get shown the video, the Oscar presentation tool where it's like, if you look at this, you can't just declare bankruptcy. Yeah, it does nothing. You can't just ban court storming. It does nothing.
You see, there's 2,000 kids, and there's no barrier except for about 5 people getting paid about $100 for the day who's wearing a windbreaker. I don't know how you make that jive, but it's not possible. It's not going to happen.
And I mean this kind of tongue-in-cheek, Justin, but I feel like that's kind of where we are with this conversation. In full reality, if a crazy, and that's why I said, I don't think an NBA finish, there's no culture of storming the court in NBA. I know I've said that a lot, but like, Justin, they stormed the court when you were a kid. They stormed the court in college when my grandfather was a kid. Yeah. Like, it is a culture. NBA, I don't think that's ever happened. Maybe because there's 100-point game, but back in the they stormed the court when the Blazers won in 77. There's that great video, but they don't do it anymore, and here's why.
I know exactly why. Those tickets are expensive. And you
Sure.
price out the doofuses.
Yeah,
and
no,
college
totally.
kids sitting courtside, I'm sorry, they're doofuses.
Yeah, totally. And I think just going back to like,
Nobody who's going to pay $400 for a ticket is going to then run on the court and maybe get arrested for trespassing. But a college kid who got a free ticket
right.
does not care.
Yeah, and I think, ultimately, like to your point, like, could they move it? Maybe, but I don't know if that's a solution.
All right, we have got some more me complaining about stuff. Because the NBA can't play hard in the All-Star game, but they can fight each other. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right. We shift gears from college basketball to the NBA. We might get back into the court storming question a bit again. I love beef up security. It's like, okay, how? Again, 2,000 kids. You're going to need 1,000 security people, right? These college administrators need to take this seriously. The kids on the court, they're coming on there. Sorry. Anywho, that may come up a little bit later, but coming up, we're going to talk to Dave DeFore. We'll talk some NBA, but we got to close out hour number 1. News and notes around the association. We played the fun John Tesh song as an excuse. It's Brown Ball Rock. Let's go. All right. Brenden, we're going to play a little, is this normal or is it just me? Because I saw the Lakers after their loss to the Phoenix Suns. Frustrated Lakers believe fouls are not being called equally. Now, it is nothing new in the NBA for certain superstars and certain teams to complain about officiating, but apparently the Los Angeles Lakers are upset because of the free throw disparity in the game against the Phoenix Suns. 19-8 was the free throw disparity, and Darvin Ham and LeBron James, but more often than not, Darvin Ham essentially said that we live on getting to the line. We attack the basket. Actually, this was Anthony Davis. Especially how much we struggle from threes. We need free throws. Essentially, the Lakers are using fouls and getting to the free throw line as a primary strategy. It seems like a pretty dumb idea because you're going to have a night like this where you're not going to get the calls. To have 8 free throw attempts is definitely not us. I know. Definitely, I got hit a couple of times, what LeBron James said. When I got to the paint, that wasn't called. And then my favorite, but it is what it is. Darvin Ham essentially said, we live at the free throw line. That's something we focus on, trying to win the free throw line every single game. And so that's tough, telling my guys to drive downhill. We're trying to love and live in the paint, and you're not getting the calls. All right. Brenden, is this a normal NBA? I understand, look, there are certain guys that, like James Harden, for a good chunk of time, he's just going to get to the free throw line a lot. He is kind of a wizard about it. Kyrie Irving was kind of that way as well. I know Luka is. For a team to essentially come out and say, hey, for us to be any kind of successful, we got to have free throws. We got to live at the free throw line. It seems like a very silly strategy. And I can't remember. I've heard coaches complain about not getting calls. I've heard players complain about not getting calls. That's nothing new. That's what I'm trying to say. But to essentially say that because they're not getting calls, it's screwing up their game strategy? This feels like a new one to me. Are they saying the quiet part out loud?
Doesn't it?
It just seems like I can't recall a time when an NBA team is like, we didn't get the calls tonight, and guys, we really need those calls. Like, we depend on that. It's like, you're depending on judgment calls by officials? I understand, look, you're going to want to go downhill. You want to attack the basket. That I understand why that's a strategy. And usually that can benefit you, but usually you attack the basket so you get lay-ins, and you get rebounds, and you attack the offensive boards. But instead, the Lakers are sitting here whining about what that's part of our strategy. That seems very silly to me. Also, by the way, the Lakers are 6th in the NBA in free throw attempts. So this idea that they're not being called equal, you're 6th. 24.7 free throw attempts per game. 6th most in the NBA. But I don't think we're getting the calls. Yeah, you are. You're shooting 25 free throws a game. That's a lot. So anyways, the Lakers go down. Blazers, it was really bad last night. And we keep saying that, but it was that the worst? The fact that last night's performance is even in an argument, that it is not a standalone, kind of tells you where we are with the Blazers. And maybe some tough questions, which I'm going to throw out as hour number 2 is coming up next here on 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. Portland Trailblazers fall to the Charlotte Hornets 93-80 at Moda Center last night. No, that's not a third quarter score. That is actually what happened in an NBA basketball game last night. The Blazers return to action against the Miami Heat tonight. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30. The Miami Heat may be without a few players as suspensions were handed down in their little brouhaha they had with the New Orleans Pelicans. In NFL news, Russell Wilson hopes to win 2 more, at least, Super Bowls as a starting quarterback for the Broncos or another team. He was on a I Am Athlete podcast over the weekend. And Dave DeFore, NBA writer for The Athletic, is going to be joining us in hour number 3. But hour number 2 of Rip City Mornings is right now on 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings. I'm Justin. That's Brenden. Thanks for hanging out with us. Brenden, you probably know this. I'm a fan of old school wrestling. When I was growing up, when I was 9 and 10, I was a Hulkamaniac, and I love kind of watching some of these old documentaries about kind of the way the business was and all that. And one of the most important things in the old school wrestling, when it was more about the gate, it was about the draw. It wasn't exactly about what you were doing on TV. Pay-per-view wasn't really. It was, boy, who could put the butts in the seats, if you know what I mean? And it was important who you named your champion. Because the heavyweight champion of whatever territory you were running, boy, they could draw in money. And you had people that wanted to see the champion or wanted to see the champion lose. And it was clearly the most charismatic person. So I was thinking about this. With both Oregon and Oregon State in massive, massive transitions right now. And Bo Nix is on the way out. He is going to be I think he's going to the Combine. He's going to be at the Combine. He's going to have a pro day. He's going to get drafted. And then Oregon is going to move on with a new quarterback. I know Dan Lanning says it's going to be a great battle. It's going to be Dylan Gabriel. There's a lot of big-name players over the last couple of years, and it's always been fascinating to me, like, who is the most popular player? Or, like, who's the heavyweight champ? Who's got the belt? Because for Oregon the last 2 years, it was Bo Nix. It was bodacious. People took about, 3 weeks where they were like, boy, this boat, I'm not sure. 3 weeks in, and it was like, all right, we're all in. We love this kid. And he held the championship belt. And now it's kind of, much like it was in WrestleMania 4, sitting vacant. Who's going to take it over? And I was thinking about this with Oregon State as well. So I'm going to ask you, from the Oregon State fan perspective, Brenden, who would you say right now for the Beavs holds the championship belt? Because I don't think it's a football player. Is it this Bazana guy? As
far as just the biggest athlete on campus, or?
Yeah, like who would be if you were to say all active Oregon State athletes?
Probably Damian Martinez, because he appeals to more. I mean, again, I love, I'll say this. I love college baseball. It's obsessed. Like, I love it. Again, there's a reason a football stadium holds 40-some thousand, a baseball stadium holds 3,000. That's right? True. So, Travis Bazana, a dude, he's easily their best player since Adley Rutschman. I had to check myself to make sure easily. But yeah, Justin, he'll be a top 3 pick. He's a stud. Probably going to carry Oregon State back to Omaha greatness this year.
Well, because the reason I bring it up
I go Martinez, I think.
It's most schools, most universities, most college athletics, it's football, right? But there are some places, obviously Duke. Duke is a basketball school. Who else would be like in the basket? Like Kansas, right? And maybe there was a time when
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona. But, when Arizona gets rolling in football, like, Noah Fafita might be the heavyweight champion of Arizona right now because he stuck around and Jed Fish left. And
well, you mentioned that's why Damian Martinez, I give him the nod.
Yeah,
Damian
that's a good
Martinez turned away. Like, he endeared himself to Beaver Nation because, Justin, you know as well as I, other than, oh, goodness, maybe, okay, you tell me the places where Damian Martinez could not have went and started college football next year if he wanted to. Maybe like 5?
Maybe
5 to 10 at most, maybe some.
And even if he didn't, there is not a school in the country where maybe he would not be the starter, but he's going to get some carries.
Yeah.
He's going to run the rock. Like, somebody is going to find a way to get him the football.
So turning all that aside,
Damian Martinez you'd put as the heavyweight champ.
I think so. I mean, like, he's popular on social media. Anytime there's like anything about the Beavers, like, he's the guy who's like, yep, I'm here, feet in the ground, loyal. And, I think that's simply because football is more popular than baseball. And if that wasn't the case and baseball was Oregon State's like 40-some thousand people, I think it might be Travis Bazzana. But, they expect to win in baseball, Justin. I'm
just saying there's only Oregon State, LSU, maybe Mississippi State. But those are maybe the only places, I think, in the country where you could actually have a baseball player, a college baseball player, be the most popular athlete on campus. Like those three. Am I missing one? Because Stanford, but like Stanford's kind of its own unique little snowflake in terms of college athletics, right? In terms of what is walking around campus. But any of the other big-time baseball schools in the SEC, if you have a big-time football star, that guy's going to be. Adley Rutschman, when he was there at Oregon State, was the most popular guy in terms of in the athletic department, including all football players. Now, football was in a bit of a rebuilding time when he was there.
Yeah, totally.
But he,
spot on.
When Rutschman was there, he held the championship belt. It was like, this is our guy. It's like, kids wanted to go to, like, I don't know, they don't do it then, but now they're doing it. Like, guys are throwing camps. Like, they're a little NIL money. Like, hey, I can run a camp. I can charge you $100.
Totally.
Come get your picture taken. Like, but that's who everybody wanted his autograph. So I was just trying to think with Oregon State because this Australian dude in Corvallis is just raking. He is crushing.
Those of us in the know, Justin, we saw quite a bit. Like, we kind of knew this. He was really good last year, but we kind of started to know that he was going to be really good. And then all of a sudden it was, hey, there's not a chance this guy makes it past pick number 5 in the MLB draft. And again, Justin, in a more bigger sense, like, big picture, like, you need that kind of gravitas and power to maintain if you're Oregon State going into this independent future that they're like, we talked forever and ever, like, we're always like, well, of all the sports, Oregon State baseball will probably be the one that doesn't change a whole lot. Why? Because of the culture of this, like, Justin, it helps, I think. Like, kids go, what conference are you in? Doesn't matter. We've got 2 top 5 draft picks.
We'll see in Omaha.
Like, so that helps, right? I mean,
no, it's huge. Like, I talked about it with football for Oregon State. Like, I still wonder, is there going to be a place, because there is one spot and one spot only in this expanded 12-team playoff for what is known as the Group of 5. I don't know if they're going to change the name of it. But is there a spot for a team to kind of capture the Gonzaga model of college football? I don't know. I don't know if you're going to be able to pull it off. Gonzaga was able to pull it off because, they hit home run after home run with especially with coaching hire. They brought in Mark Few. Mark Few didn't leave. I don't know if there's a coach, even as connected as, say, Trent Bray is to, I don't know if there is a coach in America who is a Group of 5 coach who would get multiple opportunities to coach in what is going to be the Power 4 and ultimately going to be the Power 3 if they don't take it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Very unique thing. Because
I don't think we're going to be able to see that.
It just kind of depends, right? So it's like, I've learned that now. There's like, again, 2 years ago, Would you have anyone have ever pegged Jonathan Smith to leave Oregon State for Michigan State? So loyalty is overrated, but I'll say this.
And I understand where you're coming from, but also 2 years ago, if you'd been like, hey, the Pac-12 is not going to exist, I'd be like, you are insane.
Again, Justin,
you're
some people,
a wackadoo.
Again, I'm going to just preface this by saying it can be a little mean-spirited. Some people run away from a challenge when things get hard. Some people embrace that challenge. So, again, it's like I said before, it's like going back to the Martinez thing, like, could Martinez have been like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not going to go do this. I'm going to go somewhere else. And
now, maybe, and I don't know the kid, maybe he's got an incredible head on his shoulders and potentially could be. I'm probably going to credit Trent Bray with this. Somebody got in Damian Martinez's ear and was like, hey, here's the deal. You're going to make some NIL money here. You're going to be a featured running back for one season, and then you were going off to the NFL. Why not be a legend here? You could go to Texas and be one of 3 or 4 in the backfield, and maybe you could go to Texas A&M, right? Because I know that's where he's from, Texas.
Totally.
You could go to Texas Tech, for crying out loud. You can go anywhere you want.
For a lot more money than Oregon State could give you.
But here's what you do. Stay here. And because you're the guy that stuck around, and if they get to a bowl game, and you will be able to come back to Corvallis and get slaps on the back your entire life. Whereas, and this is not his fault, but DJ Uyunglele is not going to be able to go back to anywhere and get slaps on the back. He's just not. Now, maybe some people don't care, but he's just not.
Well, and here's a bigger...
he's not going to be able to go to Clemson.
Right.
He's not going to be... Maybe if he takes Florida State to the national title, possibly, but I don't...
Good luck with that completion percentage, but sure.
I don't see that happening either, but you know what I mean? Like, we talk about it a ton with the transfer portal thing, which I think is ultimately going to calm down because some players are going to realize they're like, man, I shouldn't have left.
Right.
I should not have left, and having an alma mater, if you aren't good enough to play in the NFL, they're going to find you.
Right.
Right? And so, but your legacy and kind of coming back and doing homecoming and all that stuff, which kids who are in their 20s are very short-sighted and don't understand, but I bet you every player in their 30s knows, hey,
what is that?
Ken Simonton, every time I come back, everybody talks about how much they remember when I was here and all that kind of stuff.
Do you think it's something where it maybe means more to a player than it does? Because, again, not throwing it out there, but just for the sake of comparison, that is one thing I have heard more at the end of the day than Beaver fans than anything else, Justin, since the departure was. It's Jonathan Smith will not ever be welcome back in Corvallis again. And I say welcome, like you said, slaps on the back, all that. And it's is it different for a player versus a coach? Because it's kind of okay, I'll throw another. Would Mario Cristobal ever get slaps on the back in Eugene?
The only thing I can think of is because, and this is what Jonathan Smith doesn't have, Cristobal had a championship year.
That's true.
And
that's true.
That's the one thing when coaches come back, they always say, oh, they welcomed him back. Yeah, because they were celebrating the championship year.
Sure.
What do you celebrate with Jonathan Smith?
10-win season Vegas Bowl, baby.
Hey, remember when the Vegas Bowl? It was great.
Yeah.
And maybe they will. Maybe they'll come back and have in, what was that? It was 2022. So maybe in 2032, when, he's an ESPN analyst or something, because Michigan State ran him out and he got paid. They're going to.
I like this thought process. Make it happen, Captain.
Michigan State fans are nuts. They're not SEC nuts, but they're nuts. They're going to run him out on a rail. He's not going to win. He's not going to win more than 8 games a year. You're in a conference with Oregon and Washington and
Penn State and
Ohio State. And,
Oops.
I don't know what Michigan's going to be, but they're not going to be down for long. Good luck. All right. Coming up, we have got Make or Miss. We may also have some tales from the weekend. But before we do that, I do want to let you know about Oregon's roofing, siding, windows, and bath experts. Who are those guys? Oh, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. That's right. I'm talking about DeBella. And right now you need to get a free estimate because, well, you could potentially take advantage of saving a ton of money in 2024. Updating your roof with solar shingles could pay for your roof with the savings to your energy bill. Plus, they have federal and state incentives that DeBella has all the details for. And plus, upgrading your windows, updating your siding, and updating your bath renovations. Well, that can make your home more energy efficient. More energy efficient means lower energy bills each and every month. 15,000 five-star reviews on Google for their excellent work. You could be the next five-star review. Plus, HGTV. Better Homes and Gardens. They've received accolades from Angie's List and Home Advisor. 0 down and no payments till 2025. Talk about it all the time, but you need to take advantage of that right now. 0 down and no payments until 2025 on approved credit. Plus, their estimates are always free, always convenient, and they are on your time. Get a hold of DeBella for a free, no-obligation appointment for your roofing, your windows, your siding, your bath projects. DeBella, the official home improvement partner of the Portland Timbers. All right, coming up. There we go. Coming up in an hour from now, we have got Dave DeFore from The Athletic. He's going to be joining the big show. Get his thoughts on... do we have to talk about the Blazers with Dave? I mean, it's pretty bad. It's 80 points last night. That was it. 80 points. I understand bad shooting nights, but man, when you look at kind of where the season is headed and, oh man, they've been injured. The injury bug, yeah, heard that before. Still got a lot of good players out there on the floor. Still got Anthony Simons. Still got Jeremy Grant. Still got DeAndre Ayton. Guys that are supposed to be part of the core that this organization is building around. Not necessarily the young guys that might pop. Coming up in hour number 3, we will talk to Dave DeFore, but we're also going to have some tough conversations with regard to the Blazers because I don't know if you saw what they put on the floor last night, but those are guys that if you ask most Blazer fans, that's who they're going to build around or build with. Obviously, Scoot Shaden didn't play, and Scoot and Shaden are the lottery ticket in the back. Like we've not quite scratched it off. It's like, hey, still counting on this bad boy. But yes, most Blazer fans, they'll say, well, yeah, DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, Anthony Simons, like those guys they're in the plans. Those guys got smoke showed by the Hornets last night and scored 80 points. And by the way, I shouldn't even put DeAndre Ayton in there because DeAndre Ayton showed up. What do you have, 18 boards last night? 24 and 18? And this is not a criticism. It's actually, I'm not mad. I'm impressed. Good for DeAndre Ayton for recognizing what's going on right now.
Also, that Brandon Miller guy looks pretty good.
He looks pretty good. Remember, he was the second pick.
He was.
Blazers had no chance at him ever. But can I tell you why I'm impressed with DeAndre Ayton? He's no dummy. DeAndre Ayton's looking around going like, this team right now currently is going nowhere. But you know what I can do? I can get my numbers up. And there's a lot of guys on this team that seem to be kind of going through the motions. And DeAndre Ayton's just like, can I pull in 18 boards because we cannot shoot? Yeah, I can do that. Going to look really good. 24 and 18 last night. Yeah, it was on a game where they shot 9% from 3. Single-digit percentage points. Anywho. We got some tough questions coming up in the third hour. We got some tales from the weekend. Right now, let's get to Make or Miss.
All right, Justin firing up Make or Miss here on a Monday. The Clippers' new logo is actually pretty cool.
All right, I have not seen it. Let's look at this together. As I type in Los Angeles Clippers. Where's this new logo at? All right. This is It's got a boat in the middle of a sea with the I believe that's a compass rose. I believe is what that is called, just like the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners have got the compass rose in the S. So
apparently, per the story that I read,
which by the way, you know where Steve Ballmer is from the great city of Seattle.
So
did he rip this off from the Mariners?
So the people from the Clippers organization worked closely with those from the Mariners organization to avoid that specific thing, as Justin mentioned.
He ripped it off, though.
But
Steve Ballmer came up and said, I want a compass with the ship because I like the Mariners hat. You with me on that theory?
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, maybe. I mean, they're working with them, so I don't think there's any ill intent there.
Well, I don't know about ill intent, but I don't know how much originality though.
I give him points. It's pretty cool.
It's gonna have to grow on me. This is where I'm at because I am.
And the Clippers have no culture, so it doesn't.
They
matter.
have zero culture.
So it doesn't
whatsoever.
matter.
It's gonna have to grow on me. That's all I'm gonna like. Anytime there's a new logo, I'm just like, all right, this isn't for me. I got it. This is for the kids. They want to sell, but that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, that looks like the Mariners logo. And Steve Ballmer's got a pretty interesting relationship with the city of Seattle. I'm
all in on them separating themselves from the Lakers.
Oh,
It's like you
100%.
finally
You have to.
You finally get your own arena. You finally get an owner that's not a how do I sum up Donald Sterling in a sentence that's appropriate for radio? Good question. I'm just going to avoid it. But yeah, like they finally have an owner that cares and is, not a horrible human being. And, it's like they've been the little brother of the Lakers for so long.
Forever, yeah.
And it's like, it may never change, ever. Like, that's going to be, Tinseltown will be Lakers Town, Kobe Town, all that. But it's kind of cool. Like I said, the Clippers need their own identity, and I kind of like that they're getting their own arena. Justin and I've talked forever. They're going to have the coolest and most bathroom-filled arena in the NBA.
I'm so pumped for that.
They just, honestly, you know what this is, Justin? This is pure jealousy of having an owner that cares. Looking at you, Jody, and your little lackey, Bert.
Yeah, but the Blazers, the cool thing about the Blazers, they have already the best logo in the NBA.
Totally. And I don't
already have the best logo in the NBA.
But, could the Blazers use a new arena? Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
They could. And,
With a lot of toilets, yeah.
Yeah. It's like they could use all those things. So
especially, when I go to concerts. Well, usually concerts I go to, the guys line moves real fast.
Totally. And you could even attest to this, Justin, because Moda, and again, not going to, just observations, and maybe I'm not on, but Justin, there's a whole bunch of artists who, when they pick their tour schedule, choose to pass on by Moda Center. So, it's one of those things where the arena needs to...
scheduling thing, you think?
I've just heard that the Moda Center doesn't make for the great... again, there's a reason that Taylor Swift didn't stop here.
Well, we don't have she didn't do arenas. She was doing stadiums.
I think the previous...
T Swift only does stadiums now. 5 nights in a row.
Listen, it's one of those things where I don't see I do see why this is cool for them and good for them, and I'm happy for them.
All right, I'm looking at the detail. Can I tell you something I really do like about when they come up with new logos? When they put little details that you don't see until they point them out. So first thing, all I saw, I was like, all right, that looks like the Mariners logo with a C instead of an S. But apparently they're all cool. Everybody's cool. Apparently, the bottom part of the ship is the hull, as they say in nautical terms. Is set with that looks supposed to look like the seams of a basketball. That's kind of cool.
It harkens back to what they're like.
The typeface is inspired by naval topography. Okay.
I mean, it's just cool for the fact that, again, Justin, a San Diego Clipper. A Clipper is a type of, sailboat kind of a thing.
This looks like a yacht, though.
Yeah, it's again, a fancy kind of, small. It's a Clipper boat, right? You Google a Clipper boat, you'll see. And, it makes sense. Again, much more than the Minneapolis Lakers when,
we got the NBA is...
A lot of lakes in Southern California, right?
There's a couple, but way more lakes in Southern California than there's Jazz in Utah.
This is true. Fair.
Grizzlies in Memphis.
At least there's Pelicans in New Orleans. I appreciate that.
Well, they had to change it because they were the Hornets, and then it was like...
I appreciate it.
But there's Hornets everywhere, though.
Yeah, there are.
Hornets are the worst, right? Not the actual Charlotte Hornets.
Over Yellow Jackets? Ooh.
I'm just saying, in terms of and maybe some... Is it? What's the guy that studies bugs? Is that etymologist? It was whatever Grisham was on CSI. Somebody that studies
entomologist.
Entomologist. Knew it started with an S though. Entomologist. I'm no one of them. Clearly, because I didn't know what the word was. And I'm sure if we got rid of Hornets, there might be some adverse effect to the ecosystem. I don't know, but I'll tell you what. I'm usually a live and let live guy, but if we can get rid of Hornets, I'm for it. What good do they serve? Bees? Me and bees, we don't We're in a you chill, you do you, you go get the nectar, make the honey. Please just don't sting me. All right, I'm not going to mess with you, bee. You don't mess with me. You make the honey. We're going to have you stick around. We need bees. We need
Honeybees, specifically.
Honeybees specific. Do we need hornets?
Hornets and wasps and
Can we
yellow
just
jackets?
get rid of them?
Hornets, again, I don't think it's zero, but
They're the worst.
But they did a very good study on this not too long ago.
Oh, they did.
Hornets, wasps, and yellow jackets don't
Provide anything.
They don't make up of the pollination numbers because again, timely reference here. It shows my age. When I was a kid, Justin, this great movie named Bee Movie came out.
Yeah, Seinfeld.
Taught us quite a lot of everything, and you learn that if bees go away, we don't have fruit, we don't have vegetables, we don't have anything. Can't grow nothing.
Yeah, but what if hornets go away?
But wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, they are purely
evil.
They have genetically evolved to just being a pest. So they don't help the pollination a whole lot.
So we can get rid of
hornets.
hornets.
So we could.
Right,
but
good.
the problem is any kind of a thing we develop to kill one kind of bee is going to kill all the bees. So it's like, what are you going to do? So
I
it's tough.
I want to keep the bees.
Yeah.
I don't really. Me and bees, it's a tough relationship. I understand that they're necessary. They scare the.
Per Google, Justin, they say that yellow jackets actually have the stingers that hurt the worst of all, other than murder hornets, of course. But thankfully, we don't have them.
Those aren't really a thing, though.
I think they're still up in Washington, man, in the hills.
That was made up. I think. I think that is a
fist, Justin.
Is a scare tactic.
You want to see a bee as big as your fist? That would be fun.
That's nightmare stuff. That's going to keep me up at night now.
Well, you
a
said
bee
they're
the
not
size
real.
of your fist.
It's like, maybe not quite that big, but they are frighteningly big.
Could you imagine if you just literally saw a?
You would hear me scream.
I know that I think AI is going to destroy the world. Fist hornets might be. Yeah, that would be way worse than AI.
No, yeah. I don't do bees, man. Like you talked about, Justin.
We got to have the bees. We got to be cool with them. Right?
How you
guys be cool. I'll be cool.
Yeah.
But hornets?
Oh. Yeah, I don't, like how you talked about in your house, you're the resident spider killer at the Myers household. I just, whether it's, I don't know if it's how it is as I get older, Justin, I get mildly allergic when I got stung by a bee. Last time I got stung by a bee, my whole leg swole up kind of a thing. So it's I am out on bees. I don't like bees. Bee comes around me, I'm going to be the embarrassing, spinning around in a circle because it's not my thing, dude. I do not do bees.
But you at least have a healthy respect.
Oh, totally.
For what the colony does. Hornets, though?
No, nothing to add.
Take us. All that being said.
There's a reason MJ sold the fake ones.
All that being said, sure. Clippers logo.
Okay.
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
Knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't rip off the Mariners.
Hey, man. They worked closely with them, Justin.
You know what? It is funny, though, because you look at I'll look at it one more time. Did you see the thing on, it was a couple months ago on Jimmy Fallon, where he went through all the logos in the NBA, and pretty much every NBA logo has a basketball in it. Every NBA logo has got a basketball in it, except for the Blazers. And he kept bringing up, it was a funny bit about how, hey, it's a leprechaun with the basketball and a wizard with the basketball, and then there's the Blazers. And it was funny because I like it that the Blazers, the pinwheel, even though anybody that knows anything about the Blazers knows that the pinwheel is supposed to demonstrate 5 players on one side, 5 players on the other, and the movement of the game. You got to know that kind of stuff. But it doesn't have a basketball in it. And I was like, oh, the Clippers, they have a new look. Oh, but there's still kind of a basketball in it. So keep it on the list. All right, what's next?
One of the things that's kind of interesting. Sorry, I had my microphone muted there. I'm like, Justin saw my mouth moving, but my words were not coming.
I was like, what's going on? Is this me?
But yeah, no, just to finish that point on the Clips, Justin, is it's to your point on the logos itself. I learned this. Did you know that one of your primary logo has to have your team name in it? So, that's why you see, the Blazers, the pinwheel, sometimes you'll see Blazers beneath it. Sometimes you'll see Portland as the word mark with the, but yeah, it's you'll see in that Clippers logo, versions, they sneak in the little Clippers word mark too, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I do like it. I'll have to look at it now that I look at basketballs and all the logos.
There's basketball in every logo.
Shout out Jimmy Fallon. That's a cool segment. I'll have to look that up.
Every single one. There's a basketball.
Yeah, let's switch gears a little bit, Justin, because this is a story we've teased about a little bit, but we haven't actually straight up talked about, and I want to. Time to put some respect on the Washington State Cougars men's basketball program.
Yeah, good for the Cougs. They got the win against Arizona. They're going to the tournament. They're the second best team in the conference. Helps that Oregon actually has a win on the road against them. But I think Oregon might have popped their bubble this weekend. But we're not talking about the Ducks. We're talking about the Cougs. And, boy, if they could win in Vegas, like the Pac-2, are they like your Pac-2 brethren in basketball? Because your team stinks. Oregon's not much to write home about, but Oregon State really stinks.
Hey, we won on Saturday.
Beat Stanford?
Yeah. We didn't blow that lead.
Got to win on the road. Take it.
I think that's our first one in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So
not happy about it, though. Beaver fans are in the position where you actually
Justin, you know
don't want the team to win because maybe a change won't happen.
You tell me all the time to never come at something with a solution rather than a problem. And you told me on Friday, maybe it was Thursday, and I think it was not on the air. We're talking about Wayne Tinkle, and you're like, ha! Who are they even going to get?
Yeah, who are they going to get?
Justin, Kyle Smith is case in point with what they do. Because I looked at you and said, you go get someone from a mid-major, you take your shot. When the Cougars hired Kyle Smith, he was off a 21-10 season at San Francisco. 3 straight 21 seasons in San Francisco. Let's just use that as an example. There's not a San Francisco-sized school that couldn't compete with Oregon State's money even now. So you go get yourself a guy who has won 20 games at a mid-major, and you shoot your shot.
Okay, but hear me out, and I'm not trying to be mean about this. That Kyle Smith never takes a Washington State job post Pac-12 breakup.
San Francisco's in the West Coast Conference. That's even.
So it's a lateral move. It's
not money-wise, not even close. The Dons do not even compete with the money the Cougars have. And
now when they're in the Pac-12,
that's like Boise. That's like being like, in a year, Justin, Boise State and Oregon State will be on equal financial footing. Not even close to true.
No, it's not about financial though, and maybe it is. But there's a little bit of like, if you were a coach in the West Coast Conference and you are winning, are you gonna, even if you get paid more, are you going to stay in the same conference, or are you going to hold out for a bigger job in a bigger conference? Because that's the new reality. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's a story. A song as old as time. Story as old as rhyme. It's.
You got to flip those.
Oh, did I get them backwards?
It's all right.
Can't say I've watched too many Disney movies in a hot minute.
Well, Beauty and the Beast is a banger.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mrs.
When
Potts.
was the last time you watched Beauty and the Beast?
40
years ago.
No, my wife loves Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Nice. My wife is a fan.
Okay, fair.
Chip, Mrs. Potts. Okay.
But I think
Be Our Guest. Be Our Guest is such a banger.
Yeah,
Is Be Our Guest top 5 Disney song? Under the Sea is the best, right? Is Under the Sea the best?
I'm impartial to a lot of songs from Lion King.
Yeah.
Particularly the song that Scar sings when he takes over the pride.
Yeah, but that's mean-spirited.
All
right,
I like a good villain. What's wrong with loving a villain in Disney, Justin?
It's kind of maybe some psychopath behavior right there. If you were a little kid going I like that Scar guy.
I love a good villain.
And you're like, what?
Love a good villain, man. Disney always had the best.
Is Under the Sea better than Hakuna Matata? I mean, then there's Bare Necessities. Bare Necessities, underappreciated.
Actually, you know
underappreciated in its time.
It's all stripped away. I'm about ready to throw out another winner.
Is it number one? Who holds the championship belt of Disney songs?
You've got a friend in me. See, Toy Story was my generation, so that's what I ride with, dude. I ride with Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, baby.
Dude, Hakuna Matata is better than You Got a Friend in Me.
See, if you were to ask me, I like Toy Story more than I like Lion King.
But it's not about that. It's about, you got to strip that away and put the song, just the song on its own. Hakuna Matata, Under the Sea.
It's up there. I mean, I'm trying to think like other ones. Oh, my good. Yeah, I'm going to strip it back again. The entire soundtrack to Tarzan that Phil Collins went hard for. I mean, honestly, I fell down that
Wow,
Twitter rabbit hole not too long ago. Someone was like, it was like, try hard at something. Phil Collins on the Tarzan soundtrack, dude.
But you can't even name the song.
Sure can.
What's it called? Right off the top of your head.
Son of Man, Strangers Like Me.
Oh.
The NSYNC Rosie O'Donnell song.
But that Hakuna Matata, by the name.
I mean, you also asked Brenden, so.
I'm just saying, if we're going to look at top tier, we're bringing in deep cuts here. Anyways.
It's like I said, I think it's safe to say that I have watched Disney movies more frequently than Justin, and more recently. So I think I get to take the championship belt on the.
I disagree. Not when you brought up the Tarzan. I don't think so. When you bring up Tarzan,
have you
over
ever even
Hakuna
seen it?
Matata.
You've never seen it. I guarantee you've never seen it with the timing.
Tarzan, he's got a loincloth, swings on a vine. How hard is it to figure out?
I'm going to signal to my YouTube audience. See, this is why.
All right, we're out of here. We have got to wrap up hour number 1 next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number 2. Russell Wilson made some headlines over the weekend. He was on I Am Athlete with Brenden Marshall, and it was a 45-minute interview, and it was vintage Russ, man. It was Russell Wilson at his finest, which is, what are you talking about? Everything's great. We're going to win some Super Bowls, and so here are the things that I took from it and that are kind of fascinating to me. And again, as to why Russell Wilson kind of is who he is. First thing was, this is a guy that traded away from Seattle, right? Let's just be honest with the situation. Russell Wilson put an ultimatum to the Seahawks and said, it's me or him. Now, I may not have said it exactly like that, but he put the ultimatum to the Seahawks saying, like, look, if you stick with Pete Carroll, I am not re-signing with you. You could make me the highest paid quarterback in the league. I don't care what you are offering. I am not going to re-sign with you. It's me or him. And the Seahawks chose Pete Carroll, a guy who they would fire 2 years later. That's where you are standing with the Seattle Seahawks, a franchise in which you are the greatest player in the history of that franchise. I don't care what any of you say. It's not particularly close. And yeah, I know about Steve Largent, okay? I know. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Anybody throws a Steve Largent at me, it's like, Russell Wilson was winning Super Bowls as a quarterback. He's the best player in the franchise history. And the franchise said, yeah, no, we're not going to be held hostage by you. We're sticking with Coach Carroll. And then 2 years later, they would fire Pete Carroll. And then, of course, Russell Wilson would go and be traded off to the Broncos in a trade that looks pretty bad from Denver's point of view. It's like, it was Nathaniel Hackett's fault. Here comes Sean Payton. Sean Payton, this guy that made Drew Brees a Hall of Famer. Drew Brees was a good quarterback, then an injured quarterback, and then with Drew Brees, or then with Sean Payton, then he became a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're going to get Russell Wilson back on track. And anybody that was around Russell in Seattle and anybody that covered Russell Wilson in Seattle saw, we'll see about that. Because Russell Wilson is a unique snowflake in the football world. He is incredibly talented. But his idea that he became whom he became because of this positive speak and there is no negative, and his refusal to even acknowledge that, hey, maybe some things are going wrong and we might need to fix them, seems to have gotten in his own. And so the Broncos benched him. So now he has been dumped by not one, but two franchises. And then in essentially his first public appearance since the season says, yeah, I want to win the Super Bowl twice. Like, Super Bowl? Dude, you've been dumped twice. Not once, not twice. They've said thanks, but no thanks. We're moving on without you. And you want to talk about winning the Super Bowl. And again, I still think with what the Broncos were doing and asking Russell Wilson to change his contract or threatening to bench him, I still am on Team Russ on that one. No, this is my contract. I'm getting this money. I'm not going to change my injury incentives. I'm not going to set a precedent around the league. You guys signed the contract. You guys put it up there. Not changing. And then they benched him. So I've been on Team Russ on that. And, it's just when there is maybe a smidge of like, man, boy, the Broncos kind of did him a little bit dirty. Just when there's a smidge, Russ has to come in and be like, I want to win 2 more Super Bowls. Like, whoa. Russ, you're 50-50 on starting somewhere next year, and I think those odds are incredibly generous. I still think he can be a starting quarterback somewhere in the league next year, but again, where's it going to be? Who's going to take a chance on him? But he wants to win 2 more Lombardis, 2 more Super Bowls of the next 5, which again, most quarterbacks, what do? Oh, yeah, I want to get back to a championship level again. No, Russ, I need two more. I need two more. And by the way, everything that Russell Wilson does is calculated. You think there's a reason why he brought up 2 Super Bowls? Because that third, that's that standard we talked about, right? Patrick Mahomes is on the way. He's chasing Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes is an anomaly. But Russell Wilson knows, like, Eli's got 2. Roethlisberger's got 2. Heck, only Peyton Manning's got 2. Boy, if I could get 3. Everything he says is calculated. But I think he's 50-50 to potentially start in the league next year. I was on his team. I was like, hey, change your injury clause or we're benching you. I'm not changing my injury clause. I'm getting every nickel of this money. But just when Russell Wilson can't get out of his own, dude, put your head down, lay low. But the problem is that Russ, at a certain point in his career, believed that he could just kind of out-talk everybody and that he could convince everybody of everything. And now he's trying to convince everybody, oh, yeah, I want to win 2 more Super Bowls. And it was like, dude, now maybe you prove everybody wrong, but everybody's kind of laughing right now. Coming up in hour number 3, we're going to talk some hard question with the Blazers. Got some hard questions with regard to the Blazers. Last night was bad. Dave DeFore is going to join the show. RCM mailbag. That's all coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. The Portland Trail Blazers fell to the Charlotte Hornets 90-83 at Moda Center last night. The Blazers shot 3 of 32 from beyond the arc. That's right, 3 of 32. That's 9.4% as they go down to the Hornets last night. But no time to cry in their cornflakes this morning because they got another game tonight. The Miami Heat are in town. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 4:30. The Miami Heat may be also a little bit shorthanded. Suspensions were handed down by the league after their scuffle with the New Orleans Pelicans. NFL News' Russell Wilson, in an interview on I Am Athlete, said he hopes to win not 1 but 2 Super Bowls, whether that's for the Broncos or another team. And coming up in 20 minutes, Dave DeFore of The Athletic is going to be joining us to talk some NBA. We got RCM mailbag. But did we expect it to be here for the Portland Trail Blazers? And what was wrong with the model before? 620 Rip City Radio. All right, welcome to hour number 3 of Rip City Mornings, everybody. Dave DeFore of The Athletics is going to be joining us. Get his thoughts on the stretch run in the NBA. Is it still too late to talk about the All-Star game? I think so. We're moving past that. I do find it funny, though, that the All-Star game had to be so uncompetitive and so lackadaisical because these players said, we got to worry about our health. Okay. You guys keep fighting each other, though. We've had like 3 fights. Like 3 fights in the NBA in just this last week. So we'll talk to Dave DeFore about is it just is it a rubber stamp deal that Jokic is going to run away with the MVP yet again? And who out there could potentially take down either the Nuggets or the Celtics, or is that going to be a preconceived NBA final? So Dave DeFore is going to be coming up. Here's what we do know. We do know the Blazers are not going to be a factor in the month of April. It's not going to happen. Here we are yet again. Now, I don't know if the Blazers are intending to tank or if the Blazers are just bad. Quite frankly, I don't know which one is worse. But it is time to have a conversation now as they are 15-41. And we've talked about with regard to the standings, right? But, ping pong balls and draft picks and everything else, so far of teams that are worse than the Blazers. See, the Wizards are worse than the Blazers. Brenden, did the Wizards beat the Blazers?
They did.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
That was a big Coos game, as I remember correctly.
Charlotte was worse than the Blazers last night. They beat the Blazers.
I made a point a couple hours ago, Justin, and again, like you appropriately said, he was not available, but their rookie is like starting to pop and be like really, really good on a nightly basis. So the Hornets started to win some games.
Is he playing?
Yes.
Minutes?
Yes.
Is he starting games?
Yes.
Got it.
Yep.
The San Antonio Spurs have a worse record than the Blazers. Did the San Antonio Spurs beat the Blazers? I'm fairly certain they did. So it's like, when you look at it in this like scenario, there is a potential case to be made, other than maybe the Detroit Pistons, that the Blazers might be the worst team in the NBA, and I don't know if they're trying to be. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody in the listening audience knows. Are they trying to be? But they could be one of the worst teams in the league. Why? Because the teams that are below them in terms of their record, they've lost to all of them.
I guess when you put it that way, Justin, it feels more like trying to think like what's that equivalent to? Like stubbing your toe. Just like really just feel like, man, universe kind of against me right now. Like Murphy's Law, what could go wrong will go wrong. And it's like, are the Blazers the most injured team in the NBA? No, I think that's Memphis.
That's Memphis. Because
but like
Jaws out for the entire season.
just considering what we thought we knew, and I came to Justin, I was like, we knew they weren't going to be great, but we thought they'd have a little bit more zip and pop than this, and this is it's going to be a limp to the finish line.
So Joe Cronin has not been on this radio station or this radio show. I don't think he's ever going to be on this radio show. He has an open invite. I would love to talk to Joe. And if I ever had a chance, I would ask him this question. Going back to the moment you got the job, Neil O'Shea was just fired. The Blazers were in a bit of a mess, right? That was November of 2020? I think, or 2021. Either way, it was November. And it was November of 2021. I can remember it now. Neil O'Shea gets fired. Joe Cronin gets the interim job. A month and a half later, the Blazers officially start to tank. It was that New Year's Eve game with the Lakers. And from that moment forward, Dame, I think, got shut down a handful of days later. He got the core surgery. He was done for the season. And trades, CJ was traded away in February, and the team was actively tanking. And that was the moment they started this. Like, so I see some people on the X, on the Twitter, on the social medias like, well, it's year one of a rebuild. No. This is year 3 of a rebuild. You do not tank on purpose for multiple months. You could argue what the Dallas Mavericks did last year was not a full-on tank. They saw that they weren't going to be better than the play-in, and they're like, you want to roll the dice on Wembanyama? Yeah, roll the dice. Shut down Luka, shut down Kyrie, and they rolled the dice on Wembanyama, but they were not in a complete and utter rebuild. They still had 2 All-NBA players on the roster. We're in year 3 of the rebuild, and if I had a chance to ask Joe Cronin one question, and if I could get the truth serum, like, when you started this back in January of 2022, is this how you envisioned it going? Because I don't think this was the vision at all. There's the eating the vegetables, and there is the, hey, strategically, got to tank away games. Why not roll the dice? Maybe you get Wembanyama. Got Scoot Henderson, got Shaden Sharp, all that. But as we sit here right now, this is a team that has a roster of players that, without their 19-year-old rookie and without the 20-year-old second-year player, is not capable of beating the Charlotte Hornets at home. Now, I understand Brogdon's hurt. Got it. But when you look at the Blazers roster last night, Jeremy Grant still played. DeAndre Ayton played 37 minutes, actually put up 26 points. Actually, DeAndre Ayton played pretty well. And DeAndre, Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, all played. They all played. Those guys are making significant money. Not great money, not extravagant money, making significant money. And I know there might be some people go like, Justin, they just couldn't shoot last night. Okay, but it's always something. They can't shoot this night. Well, they're injured this night. It's foul trouble this night. They can't play defense this night. This is not a roster that is serious about becoming a good basketball team. So, looking back, and we can do this because we're just sitting here chatting. The frustration with many Blazer fans after the loss to Denver in the postseason in 2021. The frustration was, I said it on this particular program. Boy, can we just do something different? Looking back, was it so bad? Was it where we are right now? Because I understood the frustration. I was the one sitting here saying it too. And that's why I'm not saying I'm perfect and I got all the answers. I don't. But I remember sitting there going like, boy, if they could just do something different. Well, egg on my face because they're doing something different, which is losing lots and lots and lots of games and looking like there may not be a way to climb out of this cellar. Now, maybe I'm being a little bit over dramatic on this, but when you look at a season where you have lost to the Hornets at home and shot 9% from 3, you've got a 62-point loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder on your resume this particular season. You've got a loss to the Wizards, and I think they had I think Jordan Poole was even hurt that day. You've got a loss. I think you got a loss against Memphis after Ja was injured. this is maybe one of the worst teams in the league. And so you look back going like, boy, winning like 57, 58 games in the regular season, scoring a lot of points, Dame being an all-star for the Blazers, but knowing that you were never going to be serious about making the NBA Finals and knowing you were never going to be serious. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just throwing out the question. Was it so bad? Was it so bad? Because we are now sitting into year 3 of the springtime being completely irrelevant. 3 years of an irrelevant springtime. Because in 2022, that was the full meal deal tank. And then last year in 2023, the Dame calf and everybody else got shut down. And here we are now in 2024, whether they are trying to tank or whether they are not trying to tank, they can't beat the Hornets at home. Now, maybe that's all in the cards. Maybe there is maybe Joe Cronin has got in his office, right? Like on Homeland, he's got the the red yarn, and this is all part of the plan. But I look at a roster that has got nice guys, some talent, but essentially the plan is we hope that this 19-year-old or this 20-year-old who are not playing right now absolutely pop and we just hit a lottery ticket. And I hope Scoot Henderson turns out to be a tremendous pro. I hope that Scoot Henderson turns out to be the face of this franchise, and I hope that number 3 overall pick is everything that we thought it was cracked up to be, considering that it pushed Damian Lillard out of the city. I hope so. And again, that's not on the kid. That's on the organization. I hope that works. But usually, and I'm not saying every single time, but usually, a guy that is going to be a franchise-type player, usually you know it by now. Now, maybe there are other circumstances in there, but we all watched Ja Morant play his rookie year. Right? Boy, that guy's, there's something there. Wasn't exactly winning games, but you saw it. You go, boy, there's something there. There's something special. You saw it with Jamal Murray. Remember Jamal Murray's rookie year? He kind of saw it. And again, it's not like Jamal Murray is an MVP candidate, but you saw it with Jason Tatum. You were like,
I mean, I still think the jury's out, Justin. Jamal Murray played in 82 games, only started 8 his rookie year.
But he played in 82.
9, 2-2.
But this is the thing. We keep coming up with numbers and trying to find comps. I'm saying when you watch basketball, you can kind of see it. And not saying I don't see it with Scoot because he's not playing all that much. You can kind of see it. We go back and talk about like the compare, like, oh, look at Kobe and Kobe's rookie year. It's like, yeah, but you saw it. You saw it with your eyeballs. It was there. I probably also like Jamal Murray a little bit more than most people. I love that guy. Like Donovan Mitchell, rookie year, I can kind of see it there. And who knows about and maybe that's where I'm off. But I'm just saying, usually at a certain point by February, March, rookie year, usually you can kind of see it. And I don't think it's Scoot Henderson's fault. It's like inconsistent playing time. Is he starting? He's not starting. He's hurt. He's out. Not his fault. This is what we're banking on? I don't know. Just thoughts and questions. That's all I got. It's kind of a cop-out, I'll be honest. But Dave DeVore is going to be joining the show from The Athletic. That's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, the Blazers went down last night, and it was not a score from the third quarter. That was the actual final. The actual final score of the game last night. It was 93-80. They shot 9% from three. They got some guys hurt, though. Injury bug really biting this team. Is that ultimately what is in the plan? We're going to talk to our next guest about that, and plus a bunch of other things around the NBA as the All-Star game is now in the rearview mirror. The stretch run of the NBA is in full force, and joining us now from The Athletic, he hosts a podcast about sports. Dave DeFore on The Big Show. Good morning, Dave. How are we doing?
We're fantastic. We're almost to March, which means we're almost to the playoffs.
Almost to March, almost to the playoffs, which obviously the Blazers will not be participating in. We got real interest in this whole ping pong ball thing. They've lost 8 in a row. I call it, Dave, eating our vegetables. We're going to get this out of the way first because I am curious about one thing from you with regard to the Blazers. When you look at rebuilding efforts and kind of what the Blazers have been, is this comparable to everything? Because it feels really bad out here. Now, we may be in our own little bubble, in our own little vacuum, and having to watch 93-80 basketball games, and it may feel worse. Is this just your typical rebuild, or is there maybe something to be concerned about out here in the Pacific Northwest?
It's funny, because I think with rebuilds, you actually don't know if it was a decent rebuild or whatnot until it's done. Think about 2 years ago in Oklahoma City. Would you have seen this coming? I don't think you would be alone if you said no. So I would say this is kind of par for the course. The difference is for Portland, you have a lot of talent there. It just doesn't mesh well. And maybe it needs an upgraded coach. But I think that there is a lot of talent on the roster, whether that's talent that's going to be on the team in the future or talent that's flipped as an asset play. They have a lot of talent. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is a very talented young player on what is going to be a better and better contract as the salary cap goes up. Anthony Simons, very good player. I mean, Scoot, I'm not ready to say Scoot is done because this is his first year, and he's been hurt a lot. So I think that if Scoot had played more, had performed better, everyone would have a better taste in their mouth from this season. But you got to just throw it out the window. Injuries just have kind of crushed his rookie year. You hope he can come back next year healthy. But this is how rebuilds go. That first year is really rough. And I would argue when you look around the league, I mean, would you rather be Charlotte? Would you rather be the Wizards? I wouldn't. I think Portland's in a good spot.
You mentioned Coach and Chauncey Billups there, and this is the other part where I think it gets a little bit interesting, Dave, because Chauncey Billups was brought in under an old regime, and Neil O'Shea, who was fired 3 months into his first coaching season ever. Then it was a tank after Dame got hurt, and then kind of another tank last year, and now a rebuilding. And it's very odd to be sitting here in February of year 3 of Chauncey Billups as a head coach with no track record of a head coaching resume before, obviously a basketball resume. But here we are, Dave, in year 3, but 2 tanks and a rebuild, and we're not quite sure if the guy can coach. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. It's like simply like, boy, I don't know if has he been given a fair shake. Do you think they've seen enough from where he is as a head coach? Where do you think that situation is with Chauncey Billups?
Well, I think there's a couple of situations, right? Like there is the reality on the ground in that it hasn't gone well, and he's not Joe Cronin's guy. He's not the new management team's guy. So I think that if he's out for reasons that don't actually have to do with how they've played. But if you want to say they haven't played well, they obviously have not been very good under his tenure. I do think he's improved as a coach over time, as you expect. I mean, Chauncey Billups is an intelligent guy, and he knows the game. I'm not surprised that we've seen him get better at some stuff. But honestly, this was a tough hire. I think this was a hard job for a guy to walk into. You walk into Neil O'Shea, as you mentioned, was out 3 months after Chauncey comes in. You follow Terry Stotts, who had a really successful tenure there, and you had this star player in Damian Lillard, who, as soon as you get into the building, you're starting to have to answer questions about whether he wants to be there, and then he gets traded. So this has not been the easiest job for Chauncey Billups, and I give him a lot of credit because you don't hear him complaining in the media very often about getting a raw deal, as some other coaches. Hell, we've got coaches hired this season complaining about the raw deals they're getting. So I give a lot of credit to Chauncey, and I mean, it's a tough scene, and it's not been good. But I think he's proven that he can handle running a program. You don't hear any bad stories coming out of there. No one seems to dislike him, and that stuff is super important to me. So, the wins and losses, there were definitely, the losses were there and the wins weren't, but it was definitely a hard job. Again, man, I feel bad for Chauncey Billups.
Dave DeFore from The Athletic joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Let's go around the league, Dave. You mentioned coaches that were hired this season and are already complaining. Maybe a coach hired a month ago in Doc Rivers, who was kind of brought on in one of the most unique situations there in Milwaukee. And obviously a lot of us here in Portland are keeping an eye on what's going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. They've won 2 in a row. It was a tough podcast season, which seems to be the All-Star break is now podcast season, right? All these players get on their podcasts and start throwing out hot takes left and right, and JJ Redick gets on ESPN. But it was a tough 3 or 4 day stretch there for Doc Rivers, but they've won 2 in a row. Defense seems to be a big problem with the Bucks, and maybe I don't know if it's fixable, but when you look at Milwaukee with the talent and everything they have, and now bringing in Doc Rivers, I mean, is this an inevitable flame out in the postseason, or can they get some things figured out over the next month and a half?
Well, I think anytime you bring a coach in midseason, it's not good. And in particular, this was kind of a weird situation because you had the second seed in the East fire their coach. This is not like a team that was underperforming as far as record goes. I think that they were actually outperforming their on-court performance with their record. So they were winning games that they shouldn't have been winning. I mean, if you look at their overall expected win total, I think that now they're on pace for like 54 wins, but the numbers say they're more of a 47-win team. As you mentioned, the defense has been a huge problem, and that's going to happen when you replace Drew Holiday with anyone. But when you replace Drew Holiday, and I know that this is a Portland audience, and I know you're going to get some phone calls about this, but when you replace Drew Holiday with Damian Lillard, one of the worst defenders in the modern era of basketball, especially when you consider his star status. As far as stars go in the NBA, he is, to my mind, the worst defensive player, and that's worse than James Harden. So you've replaced Drew Holiday, one of the best, with Damian Lillard, one of the worst. So your defense is automatically going to be worse. They also lost a lot of depth, especially on the wing. They don't have any athletes out there, which has been a problem for the Bucks since that title run. Even during that title run, and that might have been the most athletic team they had during the Giannis era, they were still lacking athletes. Remember, P.J. Tucker, was a guy that couldn't get any run for them because he wouldn't shoot. So I think that this is just a scenario where you've got a new coach, new players in new positions, and then he also tried to change their defense instead of going with what they know. And I mean, Brook Lopez talking about having to hijack back the defense to go back to what they did. That was an awful sign for Adrian Griffin. So we should have all known it was over then. So now you get Doc Rivers in there, a guy who knows how to coach stars, knows how to take care of them in the locker room, how to coach them up. He's already kind of tweaked the defense a little bit to be more conservative, to get back more, and that's helping their transition. So I don't have as many worries about the defense. Their offense has not been as good, but since the All-Star break, you mentioned they won their last 2, and Dame has looked a lot better, like a little bit more aggressive. So I think that's going to be big for them going forward. My expectation is Doc Rivers is going to smooth this situation out. By playoff time, I think Damian Lillard and Giannis are going to be back to this devastating pick-and-roll duo that we expected them to be. I don't think that they're going to be out in the first round. I don't think this is a title team this year. But if they came back next year and could keep it together and Dame is going to be there and healthy, I think next season they would probably be my favorites to come out of the East. I just think they have too much talent. Giannis is too good. And all they needed this year was a coach that understood organization and sort of ego management, which I think Doc has been pretty good at. Now, the comments have just been, I don't know how it's working out for you, but my God, he's making my rundowns for me every week.
It's funny. I want to go back to what you said about Damian Lillard and the defense because I'm trying to find the analogy. Do you remember probably 10, 15 years ago, there was a run of actors and just kind of celebrities, and then they just decided that I'm also going to be a singer. I'm going to put out an album, regardless if they could actually sing or not. Like Paris Hilton put out an album, and like Mandy Moore put out an album. Like that was kind of how we dealt with Dame and the defense here, Dave. Which was like, we know he can't play defense, but you know what? He is so good looking when he shoots threes from 30 feet out. Like, so we're just not going to talk about it. It's like, I know that Paris Hilton can't sing, but you know, she's really, really pretty, and there's other things. So, like, that's kind of how we looked at the Damian Lillard defense. It's like, yeah, we know. We're just not going to talk about it, and then really get excited when he shoots 32-footers.
But you know what? If I can push back on this, I do think it's funny, and that's actually how it is. But it also goes to show just how unserious those Damian Lillard-led Portland Trailblazers teams were when it came to being in championship contention. Because if those teams had been in championship contention, if they had ever had a real shot, Portland fans would have been ripping Damian Lillard's defense to shreds. Because he would have been what kept them, in this theoretic scenario. And I think when you look at the Bucks and you say, look, we know we're a championship-level team because we have Giannis, we have Brook, we have Chris. Like, they still have that championship core. The difference being Damian Lillard and his defense. Because they expected, okay, we can make up for his lack of defense with our defense, but his offense is going to be such a plus that our defense is going to have an easier job. But it just hasn't worked out that way yet. So I think that, again, it's funny to say, like, he was just so good offensively. But he hasn't been that for the Bucks. And this is the big disconnect. So I think he's going to turn it on. I mean, this guy, he shoots 30-footers for breakfast. So I think he's going to be fine down the stretch. But that defense is just, it's not getting any better. Like, Damian Lillard's not getting any younger. And I just don't know. I worry that the window shuts really fast in the NBA, and the Bucks could this summer be looking at a closed window.
Dave Dufour from The Athletic joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Kind of a big picture NBA discussion, because there was a time, Dave, where I think we can all admit, like, the super teams were, I don't want to say ruining the league, but it was an area of concern of, player empowerment, players moving around. And I'm looking at the league right now and looking at the standings, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, the Nuggets, none of which those teams you would consider kind of a super team. I know the Timberwolves went out and got Gobert, but it was nothing compared to what was going on with the Nets or with the Lakers, and even the Celtics with kind of their homegrown guys. Have we finally, with Jokic and the Nuggets, what they did last year, and even for for all intents and purposes, what the Bucks did a couple of years ago, have we maybe finally seen kind of, not the end of super teams, because somebody's always going to try it, but like maybe a slowing of the trend in the NBA and a shift in roster building?
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite topics, like big picture, to think about. Because, number one, what we are benefiting from is a tremendous amount of skill and talent in the NBA. There's more good players in the NBA than ever before. Like, there are no bums in the NBA. These guys can play 1 through 15. Like, every single guy can play. And I think that you're seeing, along with that, the death of free agency. We just don't have free agency anymore. Everything has to be in a trade now. Like, the CBA and the salary structures have kind of incentivized that. Signing extensions is now important for guys. They get to that extension, and then they start asking for trades. And that's a little bit different than the sort of super team building that we think of in the past. I guess outside of Kevin Garnett, who that super team was built with a trade. But you mentioned Minnesota, Denver, Oklahoma City, top 3 in the West. Also, not destinations for free agents.
Yeah.
Homegrown teams that made trades here and there to bolster their team. I mean, you mentioned getting Rudy Gobert. That was a trade. They gave up assets, but that roster is homegrown. The Denver Nuggets, I mean, this is about continuity. Basketball actually rewards continuity. Your team, just by virtue of playing more minutes together, usually improves. And if you think about it, if you keep a coach around, you've got a similar culture, and you give that thing time to grow, then you've got a shot. I mean, I brought up Oklahoma City and their rebuild briefly previously, but Oklahoma City didn't rebuild very long. They made really good trades to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a ton of picks, and they have drafted extremely well and developed well. Chet Holmgren has been a revelation this season as a rookie in a way that I just didn't expect. He actually contributes to winning. So I think that what we're seeing is smart front offices and smart and good coaching staffs. I mean, those three teams in particular are just excellent. And they're just doing a good job doing all the smart basketball stuff. But they're getting a chance to do it. They're sticking together. No coach being fired in the middle of the season because of a little bit of underperformance. I think that's the biggest difference. A little bit more patient. The best organizations are rising to the top right now.
Dave Dufour of The Athletic, who covers the NBA, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. One last thing before we let you go, Dave, and kind of a big picture NBA thing. Outside of the All-Star game, which that's firmly in our rearview mirror, but one of the big topics is the 65 game thing, which is funny because, I am firmly grumpy old middle-aged man, Dave. Hand up, grumpy old middle-aged man, to hear NBA players who are getting paid lots of money talking about how 65 games might be a bit too harsh, and that the NBA actually had to come up with a rule for NBA players to play NBA basketball. But that's been kind of one of the, I think, the biggest issues with the league is, you're coming off of an All-Star break with a lot of time off, and LeBron can't play against the Warriors on TNT. Like that's a problem with the league because Patrick Mahomes is going to be playing Monday Night Football. Is the 65 game going to get messed with? Do you think maybe they kind of hold strong on this? What do you see the future in terms of trying to get these NBA guys to play NBA basketball?
It's a tough situation, right? I mean, basketball is a hard sport, and because they play 3, sometimes 4 games a week. I mean, that's a lot, especially when you consider the travel. And these guys are massive. Yeah, I know they fly on private planes and charters, but they are just huge human beings. Their lives are less comfortable. I'm 5'9", 180 pounds. Nothing is hard for me. My body is great. I'm going to live to be 95 years old without a creak, right? But these 6'8" guys, man, life is difficult. Their hips start to hurt when they're 20. So it's hard. LeBron with the ankle, I'm a bit of what I refer to as an ankle truther. I think most guys come back too early from ankle injuries, and this is why you see stuff like this, where LeBron, some nights he can go and some nights he can't. I mean, I know that we see LeBron always shake off the ankle. He ties it up tight, ties up his shoe, and just keeps on going. But he's 40. Life is different at 40. So I don't think that those acute things are issues. The 65 games thing being in the new CBA, they're going to have to go back and think about it. It's just been too front of mind. But the players have to come up with something that gets these guys, that makes the media rights holders feel comfortable with being media rights holders. This summer is going to be huge for the NBA. In the lead up to that, the renewal options for ESPN and for Turner, I mean, they're negotiating right now. And the thing that these people care about is that the stars are playing. The thing that fans care about, if I'm buying tickets, is Steph Curry going to be out there?
Yeah.
Is LeBron James going to be out there? I completely understand this. I do think that there is no solution other than fewer games overall. And you can say we're going to set a 65-game threshold for awards. Well, now the awards are going to mean less because the players like Joel Embiid was having an MVP season when he went down, and he had surgery. And now this guy, he may come back at the last month. What if he pushes them back into the top 4? I mean, this guy had an MVP season, got hurt, came back, and I expect him to perform at a high level. I would love to be able to reward that, with some recognition. And so the 65 games thing can get in the way of the narrative of the season. And I think when you're a sports league, that's the most important thing you've got. You're splitting hairs when you think about games and numbers. It's the narrative that matters. When you think about you just mentioned Pat Mahomes. When you think about this past season, you're probably going to think a lot about Taylor Swift, because that was one of the big storylines of the season. That's important to the history, the oral history of sports when fans are sitting around talking about this stuff. And I know that sounds kind of like, magical thinking about sports, and probably to a time like when we were kids. I just prefer it that way. So for me, I think the league's got to figure something out, because when you're precluding guys from winning awards because you're splitting hairs over 60 games versus 65 games, I think that's a problem. But also the guys need to play because you need that good faith interaction with the fans. And so the only solution I see is cutting the number of games overall and just making sure that you can focus on these guys being healthy. I would love to see an NBA where no team has to play more than 3 games in a week because, frankly, any more than that is insane on the human body. It's too much work.
Dave DeFore from The Athletic. You can follow him at Dave DeFore NBA on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We don't care. Dave, hey, thanks so much. Really appreciate the time. Have a terrific week. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime.
There we go. Dave DeFore, boys and girls. We have got one more segment. It is known as the RCM Mailbag, and we wrap up the big show next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up the big show. We do that with the RCM mailbag. Random questions, any subject, any topic. Nothing is off limits, and I will not, I repeat, will not duck the tough questions. So what are we waiting for? Let's fire it up. By the way, I will say, Brenden, you got a little too excited when Dave DeFore was hammering Dame's defense.
Oh, it was terrific. I don't know.
What would I call that? Would I call that a jig? I think you danced a jig.
I mean,
you didn't get out of your chair, but there was a definite some sort of movement that felt very kind of rhythmic. I would call it a jig. You danced a jig.
We could probably give it a jig, and you're right. I was absolutely thrilled. I love Dave. Glad he decided to say what we all know, and then Justin very aproposly said shortly afterwards, "Yeah, we all knew it. We just kind of looked the other way."
It's true. Yeah. It's what it was. It's like, okay, this is what Dame's defense was back in the day when he played for this team. We've all been there where there is let's go to high school. Popular, good-looking, all the extracurricular activities, student body president, thrives in it, but can't sing.
Yeah.
But they decide, because they are, whether it's male or female, captain of the, student body president, captain of the team, straight A's, but they can't sing a lick. And because everything has been hey, you are so talented, we think you're the best. They always inevitably sing the national anthem at a game.
Right.
And you go I don't think they can sing.
Yeah.
But nobody will say it.
Yeah.
Because it's well, you're so good at all these other things. Why wouldn't you be able to sing? That was Dame's defense.
Yeah.
It's you shoot the ball, he dribbles, he can't play defense.
It's true. And
but look at the 35-footer he made.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. And again,
nobody's going to tell this girl she can't sing.
Again, and to Justin's point, he threw it out there. I believe we did, and threw it out there to Dave, obviously. And I'd be remiss, Justin, if we didn't have some folks in our YouTube chat say I'd take Dame, CJ, and Stotts and being competitive in a heartbeat. There doesn't seem to be a plan with this team. I'm hoping the NBA forces the sale of this team. So that's where Blazer fans, and also, by the way, shout out Kirk Royce on the YouTube chat. He's a real one. Says Tarzan soundtrack, underrated.
Oh, man. Yeah. All right. Moving on. Give me a mailbag question.
Oh, goodness gracious.
By the way, do you think Adam Silver is forcing anything? The weakest leader? He is.
You're not wrong.
He's not bad, but he is weak. Couldn't make him play hard in the All-Star game. Can't make him play games. And also, I hear what Dave was saying last segment about, just lessen the games. Okay, I'm with, but isn't it going to be a speed limit? Hey, it's 55, people are driving 65. All right, well, let's make it 65. Well, they're going to drive 75, only it's the opposite. But anyways, we should get one mailbag question in.
Right, let's go ahead and fire it up. Ooh, this is going to be fun, Justin. What was your favorite breakfast cereal growing up, and what about today? And yes, granola counts.
Well, it's been a minute because I try not to eat the carbs, but as a kid growing up, Cap'n Crunch was my jam. I loved Cap'n Crunch. Close second was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's also funny that we had a breakfast cereal that was supposed to be like Cinnamon Toast. We didn't know what we were doing in the 80s, all right? But Cap'n Crunch, when the Soggies, when the Cap'n got lost and it was hey, we got to find the Cap'n, and there was a map on the back, and that was a big deal. And I was a Cap'n Crunch kid. My brother was a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy. Then I oddly liked grape nuts as a kid. Don't know why.
So you could
don't know why, but oddly liked grape nuts because every kid I think had an adult cereal.
Yeah,
most of it was Cheerios.
Yeah.
I liked grape nuts.
Interesting. Yeah. So my grape nuts not bad. My adult cereal that I liked was Total. So there you go. I don't even know if they make Total anymore. But yeah, a question for you follow up. I liked and still continue to again, Voodoo Donut, my favorite Voodoo Donut's the Cap'n Crunch one. If I was I wouldn't say that I don't like Captain Crunch, but it's an endeavor because it destroys the roof of your mouth, and it always has been. So, like, for me, I would say, like, growing up, I like Captain Crunch, but, like, I think I would reach for, like, Apple Jacks or Cinnamon Toast Crunch because it didn't destroy your teeth.
Here's the deal with...
And if you had Captain Crunch, Mom was always like, go brush your teeth before you go to school. Every time, man.
Right, here's the deal with Captain Crunch. And what do I got, about 90 seconds? Here's the deal. It has a flavor that you cannot find anywhere else in nature, right? Cinnamon Toast Crunch, that's cinnamon sugar. Cinnamon exists in the world, right? Apple Jacks, it's a fake apple flavor, but there's a hint of some apple in there. You take a bite of Captain Crunch, you're like, that's Captain Crunch. Yeah. But there is no flavor. It reminds me of like Sunny D. Like, did you ever have Sunny D? It's like, that tastes like nothing in the universe. Nothing in nature tastes like Sunny Delight tastes.
Tang.
But Tang at least was like orange.
That's true. But Sunny D has no comparable flavor. You're totally right.
Not in nature, no. And neither did Captain Crunch. Captain Crunch had nothing in nature. All right, that's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Dave DeFore from The Athletic. Thanks to super producer Brenden. And thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Monday. We're back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early here on 620 Rip City Radio.